want to keep up with the theme of how to communicate more effectively to influence a change in other people, to get people to listen and act upon our ideas. Yeah, in the past two videos, I was talking about the need to make an emotional connection, and then the need to get the person, the rider, and the elephant in a state where they're actually open to the change before talking about the change. Otherwise, you get the elephant just outright resisting that change automatically. One of the ways the elephant operates is it's a supercomputer. It's got processing power literally 1,000,000 times more powerful than the rider. So our subconscious mind is significantly more powerful in terms of processing information than our conscious mind, for 1,000,000 to 1. The problem is the elephant isn't very thoughtful. It doesn't think things through. It reacts out of habits, as I've talked about in previous videos. One of the ways it protects against our making changes, in other words, protecting the comfort zone, is that the way we process information is that everything we hear, everything we see, everything I touch, that sensory input first goes into my elephant, the supercomputer, because it can handle a lot of data. And it does that because if the sensory input went directly into the rider, it would overwhelm it, be just too much information. And so then the elephant determines what information gets passed up to the rider. And so it's a real editor of reality. If you ever want to go on YouTube and watch a video called Moonwalking Bear, it's a great visual of how our elephant actually edits elements out of reality before sending that reality up to the rider. Good example of this is, you ever notice when you decided that you were going to buy a car that you'd never bought before or owned before, suddenly you start to see that car everywhere? Well, they didn't just suddenly start selling more of those cars. What happened was the elephant knew buying that car or making that decision was important to the rider. So it began to make it aware every time the eyes saw that car. What happens though is if we communicate to somebody else and that communication is perceived by the elephant to be a threat to the comfort zone. So in other words, if it has to do with any change that elephant hasn't already decided is necessary to be made, the elephant does one of two things with that information. It either completely blocks it out or it distorts it. So a good example, if you have kids or you've been around kids and they're out playing and you go out to call them in for dinner and they act as if they didn't even hear you. Well, in reality, they didn't. Kids, come on in for dinner, made it into the ear up to the elephant. The elephant said, that's a threat to my comfort zone of playing with my friends, I'm going to ignore it. So the rider never even hears it. The way the elephant can distort information is just as amazing. And it happened to me years ago. I was working with a group of salespeople, and I was trying to get them to understand that when you approach a new customer, never lead with price. Never lead with your offer. And so I made that point about 50 times in a 15-minute huddle. And they went out and they started, they had left and started calling on new customers. And the next day, we got together again. And I asked everybody how it went. And one salesperson raised his hand and he said, oh, it was terrible. He said, I talked to 15 new customers and they all shut me down. I said, okay, what was your approach? He said, well, like you said, I led with price. And I looked at him and I said, I didn't say that. He goes, yeah, you did. I said, no, I didn't. He goes, yeah, you did. I said, listen, I don't remember everything I say, but I can guarantee you I never would have told you to lead with price. And he got really upset and he called me a liar. And at the time, this was before I knew anything about the rider and the elephant, I thought he was crazy. But in reality, what happened was, when he heard never lead with price, his elephant said comfort zone is leading with price, and it distorted that. So when the rider heard it, he actually heard lead with price. That's how powerful the elephant is in editing and distorting reality before it gets to the conscious rider to make a decision. So that's why it's so important that when we communicate to others and even ourselves around making a change, that we make the emotional connection necessary to get them in that willing and open state. If we don't, the elephant's either going to block or distort that info. Thanks again for tuning in. Hope it helped. Look forward to talking to you on future videos. Take care.